Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped Podcast. My name is Jacob Gabel.
And my name is Jacob Wurtz. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 5.
Well
Let's
done,
go, dude. Yes,
Let's do it.
Guys, if this is your first time joining us for the Untapped Podcast, welcome and thank you for choosing us to listen to. We actually have 5 main formats of our podcast. First, we have Forging Fortitude episodes. In these episodes, we cover the mental side of things. Okay, we talk a lot about our anecdotal experiences as far as our mindset, our mentality, things we've gone through mentally and how we got through them, and we try to pass on that advice to you guys. Next, our last episode was this one, Physical Vitality. Such a cool name. I love that name.
It never gets old.
In these episodes, we cover the physical side of things. Okay, you have 2 certified personal trainers right here, so we cover everything to do with the gym, workouts, diet, outdoor workouts, you name it. We've probably done it, other than maybe some like ultra marathons and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe future. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Guys, our final 3 formats are our breaking news episodes, which is a current event type of format. It is when we talk about how history connects to the current day. It's how all the events, that are going on in the current day are pretty crazy. We sift through that for you guys. We say, okay, like, should we really be outraged about this? Should we actually cancel Bud Light, as we talked about a little bit?
Sure.
That type of stuff, guys. So our next format is our Knights Table episode, which is what we have today. That is a masculinity-focused type of episode, which, again, we do have a strong female listenership on those episodes.
Yes, we do.
Which is awesome because we love that you guys are all about the masculinity, and revival, so to speak, of it.
Sure.
But yeah, those episodes focus a lot on men and how we should be strong protectors. We should be, strong in the workplace, strong at home, great fathers, husbands, etc. And the importance of what masculinity brings to this world. Our final format, pretty simple, guys, is our guest format. It's when we sit down and talk with somebody that brings you value. Could be a fitness professional, entrepreneur, could be anybody in a specific field that might relate to you guys as the listeners. Our final thing to introduce is our producer, Mitch Gabel.
Hello, what's going on?
Money Mitch.
You have
Money Mitch.
some scratches on your arm there. What happened there? Huh?
Oh, okay. We're really going to talk about that. We're really going to do that.
What happened, pal?
Wolverine got me.
No,
Cap.
quit lying.
Cap.
Quit lying.
I might have taken 3 or 4 pretty good falls during mountain biking on Tuesday.
You just forget how to ride a bike?
I pretty much. I literally posted on
There's
Strava.
training wheels on his bikes.
Dude, Mitch can tell you, but I put it on Strava and I literally said this might be my worst ride since I first started riding mountain bikes.
I saw that. I was
awful.
just like, I have no context to this. Like, I don't know what he meant
Yeah,
there. But I saw that.
Yeah, we went to one of the local parks and just had a blast, but it was just I had plenty of falls. It was just embarrassing.
Did you have a blast?
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
mean-
were on the ground more than you were riding.
I thought he was going down the hill for sure at one point. He was just
I literally was.
Ha ha, Mitch. Funny. Going downhill. Ha ha. Hilarious. dude. Yeah. Money Mitch is real funny.
Yeah. That's not really his forte though. So that's okay.
Yeah. Stick to tech, buddy. Stick to tech.
muted.
See, that was good.
Yes.
That one was
It's
solid
because
for
we're
him.
funny.
Yeah, well, yeah. He's had to get his feet back under him. That was it. Oh my god.
Just like you, because you kept falling off your bike.
Dude, it was bad. He was behind me, and Mitchell is notably a better mountain biker than I am because he is like the perfect body type for it. And he puts me ahead of him going down this stretch that's all downhill, and it's fun. It's just that I don't take it as fast as he does because I'm scared as shit going off the jumps. And so he's behind me at probably the biggest jump. He goes, "Go fast, go fast, go fast!" And I was like, "Oh!" And I literally sent it off, and I sent it off into the berm on the side of it, hit it, bounced off it, and then landed back on the ground. It was sloppy, dude.
I'm just imagining like a giant rag doll flying through the air.
Yeah. I got back up. I go, "Mitch, don't tell me to go fast." Like that.
I can only imagine the argument that started there between you two.
It was
When
bad.
he gets mad, he like throws inanimate objects.
Oh, I know.
So he like tosses his bike and stuff. And there was a guy going past who was just dying laughing at him because he was just beating the tar out of his bike.
There was one. I think it was actually that same ride where I flipped the rock down the hill.
Yeah, he just
Yeah,
throws
I
random
hit this
stuff.
big rock that was unnecessarily in the way of my
Sure,
mountain
of
biking
course.
ride. Yeah,
How
of
dare it
course.
be in the path.
Yeah, and so I picked it up and just tossed it.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Just this ooga booga.
anytime you and I go around a lake, like we have to throw rocks into
Oh
it.
yeah, that's
Like,
the
it's
best.
just how it works.
The best part of it. The whole
Well,
thing.
yeah. I mean, if there's ice on a lake, like we're walking on it. We're stupid.
Well, yeah.
But we're gonna
if we
do
fall
that.
through, like, so
I guess
swim.
this whole
just
point is
come
just
back up.
Just
yeah.
just
Just
get
go
out of
back
the
through
water.
the hole.
It's
Yeah.
not hard.
this whole point is just defining masculinity and our thoughts of just throwing rocks
Just
and
being a little boy, you know,
Yep.
like never letting the little boy die.
Make sure you never grow up,
Hey,
gentlemen.
That's a good topic right there. Never let the
Actually,
little boy die.
Maybe we'll bring something back up with that. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
But anyway,
Our topic today, getting off of our tangent there, guys. Sorry about that.
falling off the tangent just like you fell off your bike.
I knew I shouldn't have told you about this. But our topic today, guys, is basically the idea of if one gender wins, both genders lose, and how neither gender is a superior, person. Neither gender is a superior type of, sex, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Masculinity, femininity are both important in their own rights. And the idea, and we will touch on later on how on the masculinity side of things.
Sure.
Now, this episode, guys, that does not mean we're ignoring the importance of femininity.
Absolutely not. It's
Absolutely
very, very important.
Very important.
Yes.
Now,
Femininity. Not
yes, hit on that word directly,
Yeah,
because
yes.
femininity is much different than feminism, which we'll
right.
quickly touch on, but we'll
Right.
probably do a more in-depth touch on that in the future. But today, guys, going right into it, and the idea of neither gender is superior.
Mm-hmm.
So what we mean by that is both genders bring something to the table. When it
Many
comes,
things.
Many things
Sure.
to the table.
Yeah.
When it comes to men, a good example is physical strength.
Mm-hmm.
A good example is leadership in a household. When it comes to women, a good example.
Usually, touch on that for a second. Usually more naturally a leader. It's
Yes.
just kind of in our biological makeup. Not saying women can't be, but just
yeah.
more often than not, it's more natural
Yep.
for a male. Now, if he acts on that, that's something completely
100%.
different.
Yeah, and I want to touch on the idea of leadership when it comes to that too. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people hear leadership in the household and they think the man is just like cracking a whip
Oh,
around
just
the house
Controlling everything.
and just
Right,
everything
right,
is
right,
under his thumb.
Right.
It's like, no, he just is like a figurehead for that.
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
times.
yeah,
Like he's an
exactly.
important figurehead for, okay, like, if the kids need help, in certain things, a lot of times like he can be a final say with that sometimes.
For
like
sure.
when it comes, and the biggest thing with that, guys, one very small thing, but men are very good, and this is part of the Boy Crisis book I'm reading. Men are very good at enforcing boundaries.
Mm.
So a lot of the times, this is why it's so important to have a mother and father in the household, because on one side, the wife is and the mother is very important for the empathetic side of things, and
Sure.
she's very nurturing, very, very important for that.
Especially at a young age.
Because a lot of times,
Yeah.
like a lot of dudes we know, and they can be kind of heartless sometimes.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
and that's why it's so important to have a woman to quell that feeling in you a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
But on the one side, men are really good at enforcing boundaries. So when it comes to being a father, when it says, "Hey, we're taking your iPad away for a week," that iPad's staying away for a week when the
Yeah.
father's in the household. Now, if it's a single mother, there might be a little bit more leeway with it. After
Sure.
2 days, it might come back when she said it was supposed to be a week.
Right.
And this is a very common find in a lot of the research studies in this book. Again, we'll do an episode where I actually get to quote this book pretty in depth. It's a phenomenal book for those of you that want to read it.
Yeah.
But that's a good example because
Well, and actually, I want to stay on that for
Yeah,
just one
sure.
second here, as far as the setting boundaries in a household with a nuclear family compared to possibly a single mom.
Mhm.
So on the team I coach, I actually have kind of some experiences with this as far as those two situations.
Sure.
And the kids with the typical nuclear family, as far as that goes, like you're not seeing them talk back to their parents.
Mm.
You're not seeing them cuss. Again, I'm coaching 12 and 13-year-olds essentially.
Yep.
You're not seeing those kids cuss or lash out or have too many attitude problems. On the other hand, I've got at least one that I directly coach, possibly two. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. That just live in a dad is somewhere else. Dad is sort of in the picture, not really. But anyway, and this kid has a lot of attitude issues. This kid, the way he talks to his mom at times, or the way he talks to sometimes even his teammates, luckily hasn't said it to me because I'm not going to put up with that.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't handle that at all.
But is very inappropriate and there's cussing involved at times. There's talking back to his mom at times, and it doesn't cause a bad relationship between them, because like I've seen it, and like her and I have actually talked about this a lot, but just the way that he talks to her at times is completely different than the players with a nuclear family with both parents involved, with a strong dad involved as well. There's a massive difference in the attitudes and how they speak to their parents and how they take direction as well. And so it's, in a way, it's kind of cool to see because I get to see it firsthand. And I also know that that's part of my responsibility as a younger coach that grew up in a great family and still has a great family, to pass that on to someone who may not have been as fortunate to have both parents involved directly. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I kind of went in a circle there, but as long as it made sense.
No, the circle made sense.
Yeah. And so it kind of shows me what the difference is between a typical family upbringing and a not as typical.
And it's what you're talking about with the boundary enforcement and whatnot.
Exactly.
Like that is a great example with speaking for my Mitchell and I's father. Like, he was like the last line of, you push it too far.
Oh yeah.
This is what comes down.
Right.
Whether it's spanking, whether it's whatever, it doesn't matter. He was the, you want me to get your father?
Right.
We go,
no, we're good.
no, we'll be quiet, Mom.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay.
Right.
That is a good example, actually a very niche example of the importance of that boundary enforcement when it comes to father. And
because I had the same thing too.
I know you did. Yeah, 100%. And it shows in your personality too a lot of times, because you understand boundaries and whatnot really well because of that. But that is a good example of the leadership and the importance of leadership when it comes to men in that scenario. Because again, we don't want to phrase leadership as, he is a dictator and running the house or something like that, because it's not.
Not at all.
It's not like that.
Because that's too extreme. Because there are households
100%.
like that, or there are families like that, and like there's going to be dysfunction in those as well.
Yep. Yeah, without a doubt. And it can go the opposite way, where the woman is leading too much as well, like 90% of the household as well. And that's probably become more common in the past 30 years or so. But it was definitely less common before that 30-year mark or so.
And I'm wondering if the reason it seems to at least have become a little more common is because overall masculinity has obviously taken a hit. So men are not feeling that responsibility to stay involved in the child's life and stay involved in the family life and whatnot. And they just go around having sex with all these women, having kids with all these women, and then peacing out.
Yep.
Well,
that's a good example of, male assertiveness is a pretty common trait a lot of males possess.
Sure.
And
good and bad assertiveness.
Good and bad, 100%. Yeah. But the good type of assertiveness is, the ones where he actually can make decisions. He can be a strong man. He can lead in certain ways, and the woman respects that.
Sure.
Now, with the low testosterone epidemic we've talked about, that's where it kind of wraps around to, a low T guy is much less assertive.
Definitely.
They really don't have like a protective instinct a lot of the times because of the fact their testosterone's lower.
Sure.
And that's the endocrine system. That's your hormones. That's how it works. That affects how you perform.
And what's so funny about what you just said there is the way just social media and the media has tried to portray masculinity. Like, it would say that you are some like crazy far right wing, like conspiracy theorist guy, but like it's just a scientific matter here is what we're talking about as far as low testosterone. Like, that's not a political statement, but it's just funny how social media and the media have curated that to be a political point when it's really just a scientific fact.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I know.
And that's a good example of, when it comes to scientific facts, that's been a pretty common thing that we see ignored a lot of the times, because the scientific fact is also the differences between men and women.
Right.
It's that biological predisposition that we even talked about before the episode, because again, as much as we want to say, like, men and women are the same in every way possible, that's not a true statement.
Right.
Does that make them less equal? No, not at all. Absolutely not.
Right.
But it does make them a different type of human being.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Both men and women. Like,
exactly.
it's not saying one is better or superior to the other, one is inferior to the, like, it's not at all.
Yep.
They're just different.
Without a doubt. And they bring different things to the table. This is why it's so important to even talk about that, because like you just said, with a nuclear family and with a mother and father in the household, if you get the good and from the dad and then the good from the mom, and you combine those two things, it ends up being really, really good for the children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, are there the small percentage? I mean, really small percentage of kids who turn out rough from whatever. I mean, you show like single mother households without the father in it, for example. They're 20 times more likely to be in poverty. They're 10 times more likely to be in prison. They're 8 times more likely to have a child out of wedlock. That type of stuff. Those type of statistics pop up, and I might be lowballing those actually for that matter, which like that's pretty scary.
Right.
That's a pretty scary side because it shows like when you don't have a solid mother and father in the household, that's what happens. Again, that's part of the attack on masculinity as well that we talk about and why that's happened. But I think it's massive to even point this out, and the reason we even point this out is because we think on our side we want to be strong fathers as well.
Exactly.
So if we're not just speaking this and gonna go get milk, so to speak, or whatever, go to the store and get milk and disappear.
Milk.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna do this again.
Milk.
I can't change my accent. But I mean, that's the truth. Like you and I, one of our biggest goals in life is to be a good father, to be a good husband.
Yeah.
So it's like we're talking on this because we know how big of a deal it is for men to be this. And then you show again, here we go back to the biological predispositions as well. And, really wanted to lead a family and want to have a family and want to, build strong children, sons, daughters, whatever. Again, you got to understand as well, when it comes to son and daughter, there is a difference because we go to the biological predispositions where men are in fields that have the highest mortality rate, which means workplace deaths have the most likely chance of you passing away on the job. Oil rigs, working on windmills.
Military would probably fit into
military, 100% fits in that. Construction work is another one. Those 4 are a good example of it. Now there's obviously way more than that.
First responders.
Yeah. Oh, those fields are overwhelmingly populated by men.
For sure.
Over 90% of them at the minimum. Like I think firefighters are like 93%. I believe when it comes to oil rigs, it's like 98 to 99% of them are men. So, and that's one of the top mortality rates. I mean, underwater welders would be another example of that. It's a pretty specific career, but that's 98 to 99% men.
Sure.
So there's another aspect of that where that shows the importance of masculinity in this scenario too. And again, we're talking about the masculinity thing. We're not saying, femininity is not important. That's not what we're saying.
We've already clarified that we believe it is very, very important.
Yeah, because I feel like we have to clarify it because that's
for sure.
Every single second we talk about it, it's like, what about femininity? It's like, stop. We're talking about masculinity here and the importance of it.
We're also 2 dudes.
Yeah.
If we want to bring up the femininity side, we will have a female guest.
We'll have a female guest on.
And we will do that.
And we will do that. It's just
and we have talked about doing that. And we have done that.
Exactly. But that shows the importance of men because a lot of times men are also willing to sacrifice their lives a lot more too for causes like the military.
Sure.
There's a good example for causes like first responders. A lot of times they'll put themselves in harm's way to then go and save others. So that shows the importance of why we even touch on masculinity. And it's not saying either gender is superior, again, why we wanted to phrase that, but there has been a noticeable hit and a noticeable attack in the media, in society, etc., on the idea of masculinity, because most of the time you hear the word toxic be put in front of it, which is a very rare scenario because, and for some reason it's been related to school shooters a lot of times, which I don't know why, because all the school shooters look like they have about 20 nanograms per deciliter of test in their entire body. And that's about it. So
they're trans people, and we're not talking about that.
Or they're trans people.
I mean, literally, though.
No, it's true, though.
Or they try to label them as far right, and if you actually look into these people, they are far left.
They're really,
but again,
far,
that's
really far left.
we're not going to talk about that.
No,
Breaking news episode.
Breaking news. Again, we could touch on that for hours, but I mean, so that's where we're kind of going with this, guys, is the importance of masculinity in the equation. And again, like we talk about when it comes to femininity, we talk about the empathy, we talk about nurturing, we talk about caretaking, we talk about emotional intelligence in general.
Yeah,
women tend to have a lot more of that.
Sure.
Which is the important. That's why they're better to be social workers a lot of times. Like on average, they're social workers. Nurses, they're much more likely to be a nurse. Right. Now, again, that is not saying men can't be nurses, as we pointed out. Yeah. Because I actually am friends with a couple of nurses
I am as
myself.
well. One of my best childhood friends is one.
Yeah. The thing is, like, that's another empathetic job.
Yeah.
So it takes
absolutely.
it takes a certain type of man as well
And-
in a way
and-
too. And yeah,
Exactly. And if you're a male and you're a nurse, we're not saying you have low testosterone either. We're just saying it's a
predominantly.
predominantly
field.
female dominated field. Yeah.
Yep.
I definitely just repeated myself. But yes.
That's all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you get the point anyway. And
Yeah.
And exactly. You're exactly right. And the reason we bring all this up, guys, he kind of touched on it a second ago, but I wanted to kind of re-bring it back up. This is our goal, you and me, us three here. You know, obviously we are only in our young 20s. You know, we haven't done much yet. We're not fathers. We're not married. But these are the things that we strive to be, which is why we want to talk about them with you guys and talk about our thoughts on the process and give an insight into our process as to why we want to have the Building Brotherhood meetings and continue to grow that group, because we want to build up a strong community of men. And that's not to be just dominant men and just being in control of everything, being dictators of everything, but bringing back all of these qualities that we were preached to as kids, all three of us, because we grew up in wonderful families with discipline, with boundaries, with rules, and whatever else that we've covered here. But also the side of things where there's freedom too. You know, it wasn't just, strict. Like we all had freedoms as well as young kids. And there's also an aspect to that where you have to experience things for yourself to learn lessons as well. Not the point of the topic here, but still. So we invite you guys, especially you young men, to take all this into account and really listen to what we're saying. We are not hating on women. We are not hating on femininity, but something like feminism, where they're trying to portray women
Beautiful.
either as men or as better than men, that's when it causes issues. And that's exactly why he said at the very beginning, when one gender wins, both lose, I believe is how you said it. Is that right? Yeah, exactly. So
And that goes for either
it
males
goes for
winning
either
or
way.
it goes for females winning.
Exactly.
Which right now, again, that's why we said this the last 30 years. Feminism, women have been winning. And then,
Right.
and then both genders have been losing because of that.
Yes, exactly.
Marriage rates are lower, divorce rates are higher, childbirth is lower.
Poverty.
Poverty's are higher.
Right.
Doesn't seem like a win to me.
Exactly. All of those things are L's. But, again, it goes both ways here. So guys, we just invite you to join us on this journey of becoming that kind of a man, becoming that kind of a leader, and searching for a feminine woman to complement those things on our side of things. So again, that's why we really just talked about the masculinity side of this. That's why we talked about just the male side. We don't want to speak on the femininity side too much, because we're not females,
A big thing with that Building Brotherhood group is accountability.
Exactly, that as well.
That's a big thing that a lot of men lack, is when you're not held accountable by your peers.
Yeah.
You're going to do stuff that is most likely not responsible.
Right. And that's why he said, crime rates go up for those kids, and you find yourself in poverty, in jail, in gangs, stuff like that.
Their anger rates are shown to be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Especially young men that grow up under single mothers.
Right.
Their anger rates are shown to skyrocket.
And that's another proven example of my situation that I talked about earlier with my team. This kid has attitude issues. He has anger issues. He lashes out at times. When he's not like that, and when he really gets behind me and my other coach, who we are trying to lead these kids, like, you see a huge difference in it. And that's not a hit on his mom either, because his mom, she works her ass off. I know her really well, and again, we've talked about all this, and she does a phenomenal job. But there's still an aspect in the boy's life that is lacking.
That's actually right there. That's a perfect call out point to, those of you that might have been raised by a single father, single mother, divorced parents, whatever it might be. That's kind of like a call to you guys as well to stop the cycle there.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop the cycle at that point right there. Find a good wife, find a good mother for yourself.
Yeah.
And build an amazing family.
Yeah.
Give an amazing life to your kids. That's like a call to you guys as well. Like, yeah, sure, you guys might have grown up in broken homes, in quotation, so to speak. So what?
So rebuild it.
Yeah, rebuild that
Rebuild
foundation.
it with you. Yeah.
100%.
And we even had that situation in our first meeting. We had a couple guys
We
that
had two guys who were married. We had guys that were had children. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But two guys that also grew up without a father figure in their
Yes.
in their life. And I told them that night, like, you have a tremendous opportunity to flip that script, just like what you just said there. And I think that's really, really important.
Oh, it's massively important.
That is such a
Absolutely.
huge way to build respect right there. The cycle ends here.
Yeah.
And once you end that, I mean, that is such a massive thing to respect and,
Right.
and give respect to that man.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%, guys. This was an action-packed episode. Mitch, at the end of every episode, will ask us a Q&A question that is submitted by you guys, the listeners, or the viewers. Man, we forgot to mention that again. We are on YouTube. We are on YouTube. So you guys can submit questions in the comments there, or you can email them to us at extricationfitness@gmail.com.
Mhm.
Mitch, do your thing.
What are ways to improve emotional intelligence?
Find a feminine woman.
This is tough though. This is really tough because in my experience, I mean, and I'll talk on my journey of developing more and more because, I feel like I've been decently successful with it, but at the same time, like you just said, like this is why we mentioned that women are better at it. Like,
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
side note, this question is kind of coming from the man's perspective, right? Because we're all men. So how can we
Yeah.
improve our emotional intelligence as men?
Yeah,
Sure.
it's tough. Because truthfully, I feel like my emotional intelligence actually took a hit, through dating the wrong women.
Mm,
Because I felt more heartless off of that.
mm,
Because, and honestly, maybe I should phrase it this way: like my emotional intelligence took a hit, but I needed that hit to then reshape it in a way.
Yeah. You have to learn from experience. Is
Yeah,
basically what you're saying.
honestly, like the best way I've found to develop emotional intelligence is communicate with those around you.
Mhm.
I communicate with you as much as possible because
Yeah.
like my communication's gotten better as we've been doing this longer
Yeah.
and longer. I feel like.
Can't get much worse. I can tell you that.
Well, yeah, if it gets much worse, I'm not gonna respond to you for weeks on end or something like that. Yeah.
That would just zero business.
we meeting this date? Nope. Nope, we're not.
I didn't hear, so I'll see you in a couple weeks, I guess.
But I mean, in reality, like whenever it comes to either friends, whenever it comes to women, communicating with them is what I've found to be best. Because if you can understand, like, did I make you feel this way? Especially with women, like, because sometimes, like, our actions as men, we don't really realize that they made a certain effect on the
Sure.
woman we're either dating, talking to, whatever.
Yeah.
I definitely haven't.
Or the severity of the action.
Or the severity, yeah. And
right,
it's
right.
tough because we're not mind readers either, so we can't really tell a lot of times if we made a negative impact in some way, and sometimes we accidentally do that.
Sure.
So I found that sometimes, like, okay, I can tell. I've gotten better at telling if something's off.
Mm.
So I'll ask, like, hey, are you okay? Like, did I do something to make you feel that way? Or something like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
At least like check in. Again, it doesn't have to be like I bow at her knees or something like that, and then ask and beg for forgiveness.
Sure.
Like it doesn't have to be like
But
that.
you're trying to
but
be a little more proactive there.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's probably what I got. I mean, I'll probably have some come off the top of my head as we're talking about it, but
Yeah. I think, at least for me anyway, because I'm continuing to try and get better at emotional intelligence, because it's definitely been something that I've faltered on. And this is actually something I talk a lot about with my team and with the guys that I coach, both in the gym and on the field, just because I see it a lot in them. So I try to help them out as much as I can, being 12 years older than them, 12 more years of experience, trying to help them in that getting better at this. And I think, at least for me, it is controlling the immediate reaction is how I am trying to get better as a man at being, or at having better emotional intelligence,
I
if
like
that
that.
makes sense.
I like that,
Because
yeah.
because you know damn well too, like you yourself know how prone I have been to quick reactions that are
Quick hits,
are-
yeah.
exactly, that are typically negative, or unnecessary, and it's caused problems, or in many different situations for me. And so I think that, and then you kind of hit on this, but taking responsibility as well. Taking responsibility even when you don't want to. Like, and I'm not saying unreasonably taking responsibility,
No.
but taking responsibility even when it might hurt your ego a bit to do that. And that's extremely hard to do. And for me, at times, it's come too late. It has still come, but it has come too late. too little, too late type thing. And, that's also a tough thing to live with there. And, that can bring on a whole world of new emotions of, regret or sadness or anger or, on the flip side of that, it might bring you some clarity or something like that. And then you might be able to solve problems a little bit better. Again, if it doesn't come in time, then sometimes you don't solve those problems properly. But all of this revolves around the same thing as you learn from experience. You get better through experience, whether that's something like this or like we've talked about, guys, with, trying to get through long rucks or long sessions in the gym. Like you learn from experience. You get better by doing it. You suck in the beginning and you get better each time. So unfortunately, if it's a relationship situation, it hurts a lot in the moment, and it hurts. It hurts you. It might hurt the other person. Whatever. Whether that's a romantic relationship, a friendship, a family relationship, it hurts in the moment. But then if you are able to take responsibility or control the initial reaction or take a step back and just breathe for a second and evaluate, then you might be able to work through those things.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good, dude.
Yeah, emotions are tough, man.
Oh my gosh.
Like they really are, and again, typically females are more emotional intelligent than males, but I'm sure it's even tough for them just in different ways than us,
Absolutely.
obviously.
Yeah.
But emotions are they're just tough. I don't think you're ever going to be perfect at dealing with emotions.
I mean,
I really don't think.
If you find somebody, let me know.
Yeah,
'Cause
you too,
haven't.
man.
I mean, I haven't found anybody. And like I wanted to even like quickly hit on what you said about you kind of said taking unnecessary responsibility. I like that because you shouldn't turn into just a simp for like in this scenario.
Yes, or that, yes, 100%. But also, and I think I more meant it in this way, is just taking responsibility just to get it over with. Just to like get the argument over with or something like that. Okay, yeah. Like I screwed up. I'm sorry.
You got it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that's also taking unnecessary responsibility, but also being a simp, because then you're going to get walked all over.
Yeah, because that's the difference. You shouldn't be just getting walked all over by your woman.
Right.
Like, which I've honestly, the sad truth is I've probably met a good percentage of dudes where that's the case.
For sure.
I don't know. I don't know if it would be a majority, but it's a good percentage of them that get walked over by their woman a lot of the times.
Right.
And the thing is, that's also not a good thing, because you guys should, as equals, be able to sit down and have these conversations about emotions, about different conflicts and whatnot. It shouldn't be that you're just kind of bowing down and giving all the power to her.
Right. Or the other way around.
At all.
Yeah. And it's tough. That's tough to do, man. Like, you have to be extremely mature. And I know, at least for myself, I have not always been mature enough to do that. Like, I know for a fact, and that it kind of sucks to have to admit that. But again, like I just said, even when it sucks, like, you might have to take responsibility, and that's what I had to do, and that's what I have to do here.
I was to say, the reason I was even saying this is because I took responsibility in the way like that it got me walked over.
Yeah.
100%. Like 100% that happened. And it just, I mean, speaking from personal experience, like you said, like it just reps at some point. It sounds so funny, but like it's
true.
It's almost like practice, because you have to put yourself in those conversations with your lady and whatnot, and you have to actually try, or your friends, and try to solve these situations. Because if you don't actually like even attempt to solve a conflict or talk about a certain emotion and whatnot, you're not going to get better at it.
Yeah. Or females, you might have to do this with your man.
Yeah.
Again, there's two sides to all this. But all in all, like, emotions are just a crazy dynamic.
They are.
Just a crazy dynamic. So, guys, thank you for joining us for Season 3, Episode 5. Please continue sharing the show, okay? Instagram makes it super easy to, or I did it again, backwards. Spotify and Apple make it super easy to share to Instagram. Yes. To share the episodes to your stories and whatnot. So, guys, please do that. It really does help us grow quite a bit. And, we just love seeing our names and our podcast being put on other people's stories, because we know that you found some value in the episode, and that's really what means a lot to us.
Hey, this person mentioned us. It's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good feeling reading that on notification.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. And we always go through, we always make sure to thank you and just show the love back, because, guys, we appreciate that so much. It's also very surreal still, even to this day,
Oh yeah.
So, guys, if you enjoyed this, if you found value, which I know you did, if you know someone that might benefit from listening to these things that we just talked about, guys, send this episode to them. Send them our way, and we will be happy to help.
Yeah. More Knights Table to come, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And the good in-depth ones, and yeah, it's gonna be good, guys.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be real good.
So, guys, until next time, peace and love.
Thanks, guys.